Idaho Matters is brought to you in part by St. Luke's Pharmacy, now offering free home delivery. For daily medications or one-time prescriptions, home delivery is easy to set up. It's convenient and safe. St. Luke's Pharmacy, now delivering to your doorstep. Information on how to get started at stlukesonline.org.
So you can't see this, but hopefully you can hear it. Behind every Boise State Public Radio podcast is a team working hard to bring you stories that matter. So if you value podcasts like this one, please support them. Hit donate at boisestatepublicradio.org. Thanks.
From the studios of Boise State Public Radio News, I'm Gemma Gaudette. This is Idaho Matters. 2 airplanes crashed Sunday at the Gunfighter Skies Air Show in Mountain Home. Thousands of people were there watching the demonstrations when 2 Navy Growler planes collided. The 2 pilots and their true electronic warfare officers ejected before those planes hit the ground, and they were able to parachute safely to the ground. Now, the crash, though, started a brush fire. It stopped the show. It locked down the base. And as you can imagine, it created a snarl of traffic as thousands of spectators tried to get home. Now, this was the first Gunfighter Skies since 2018 when a stunt went wrong and a glider pilot died. And back in 2003, if folks remember, a Thunderbird crashed during that same air show. That pilot also parachuted to safety. Our Boise State Public Radio reporter Jackson Holmes went to Mountain Home yesterday after the crash happened, and she's joining us live now to talk about the very latest. Jackson, hi.
Hello, Gemma. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you here. So, Jackson, tell us about the air show itself. Where was it? And, who was there?
Yeah, so it was at the Mountain Home Air Base in Mountain Home. It is the Gunfighters Air Show. And like you said, it's been around for about 23 years, since 2003. That was their first show. And it's been a pretty much intermittent since then. Their last show was in 2018. So it was a really highly anticipated event. Kind of comes together with the America 250 celebrations. There were about thousands of people there to attend and to see that fun air show.
So this was actually the second day of the Gunfighter Skies Air Show Sunday. So can you walk us through the crash? As I mentioned, 2 planes involved. Do we know where they were from or anything like that?
So we do know that they were 2 planes from Whidbey Island, Washington. So the planes and the crew members were from Washington. They were EA-18G Growler planes, like you said. It happened about an hour into the show. At about 12:10 p.m. is the time that they're reporting the incident occurred. Most people in attendance didn't see the event occur. The planes were about a mile or 2 away from the actual flight line, so where most people are looking for them. They were going into form a formation for a demonstration kind of towards the end of this performance when they crashed and collided over the highway.
So, Jackson, I have to say, I saw some video of this, and it is truly shocking because it almost looks like the 2 planes, stuck together almost. So, talk to us about the pilots, and they each had two other people with them. So, 4 people. They got out though, right?
They did. Witnesses say they heard sounds similar to what a firework would sound like because of that distance, and then saw 4 parachutes leave those planes. A lot of people didn't know the status of the pilots for quite some time, but we do know that those 4 pilots got out of the plane successfully. Reports from this morning, spokesperson Commander Amelia Umium said that 1 crew member is in the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries, and then 3 crew members sustained no injuries.
Okay, so really, truly incredible. So Jackson, as you mentioned, you said a lot of folks didn't actually see the crash happen because of where it was. But I do know, since you did go to Mountain Home, you were able to talk with some folks at the air show. What did people tell you about maybe what they saw? As you said, some people heard something.
Yeah, like I said, it was similar to the sound of a firework. People saw the people that did witness the incident didn't quite know what was happening, didn't quite know if it was planned or not until obviously you see those 4 parachutes eject and realize something went wrong. But they were part of a demonstration going in to form a formation as part of that performance. And so they just collided. One went up, one went sideways, and they met in the middle.
So the plane crash started a brush fire. So can you talk to us about that? Because that snarled everything as well once that happened.
Right. That was what mostly triggered those road closures, as you saw firefighters try to get in there to contain that fire. I did see the remnants of the fire as I got into Mountain Home, and I spoke to an officer who said that it was relieved by at least 3 hours after the incident. I saw the fire at about 3 p.m. And then confirmed with that officer at about 3:15 that fire had been extinguished. But we saw quite a few road closures in Mountain Home, not only because that base was on lockdown as they secured the scene, started those early investigations, but also so that they could get emergency vehicles in there.
So can you talk to us a little bit more about what happened after the crash? Then, as you said, the base went on lockdown. I'm assuming the show was then canceled, but then you've got thousands upon thousands of people stuck on the base.
Yes. So going into Mountain Home, you saw signs, electronic signs that said air show canceled, urging people who were on their way to the base to return home. So they weren't not letting anyone onto the base. The people that were on the airbase for the show were there for about 4.5 hours until they were cleared to leave and given an exit path out of the airbase. They could go to their cars. They could walk around. The air show was canceled, but they all had their demonstrations and exhibits. I talked to someone who saw some bomb exhibits that were supposed to be accompanied by people flying over, but were still on the ground. So there was stuff for people to do, stuff for people to see. One witness told me that the announcers never stopped talking. So the mood inside the airbase was generally pretty positive. Like I said, people didn't always know what was going on with the crew, so there was some fear about that. But once that was cleared up, people were relatively content. And then about 4.5 hours later, they were able to get into their cars and leave the base.
And so what was that like then, Jackson? I mean, I'm assuming, there had to be a lot of traffic issues at that point.
Yeah. So going into Mountain Home, before I had even seen that the route was posted, that people were able to leave, I could tell some movement was happening because of the amount of cars headed north out of Mountain Home. Saw a lot of buses, saw a couple of medical units on buses, and a lot of cars coming out of Mountain Home. And that continued for quite a few hours while I was down there, just a pretty steady stream of cars.
So have we heard anything officially yet about the crash? I mean, of course, there's going to be an investigation because back in 2003, when this Thunderbird crashed at this exact same air show, it was determined that pilot had not set their altimeter correctly. Of course, had to have a whole investigation. So do we know anything yet, details-wise?
We have not been given any information about what caused the crash, what exactly led to it. All we know is that those pilots are safe, they ejected, and that the investigation is ongoing.
So what happens at this point? The investigation is ongoing. Are all the roads back cleared, open? I mean, is everything kind of business as usual back in Mountain Home at this point, except, of course, waiting to find out more information about the crash?
Most of the roads are open. Highway 167 from the Simcoe Road cross to the Airbase Road cross is closed and will continue to be closed for the next few days as they continue to investigate the incident. When the crash first happened, they started with the initial investigation, but now they have a little bit more time to go in and see exactly what went wrong and what happened. So we expect to get that information later in the week.
Well, I want to say thank you to you. It was a Sunday when this happened, and Jackson left Boise and got to Mountain Home and covered this for a big majority of the day for Boise State Public Radio News. So Jackson, I mean, thank you for being there and covering this and getting us the very latest information.
Yeah, of course. I'm happy to do it.
We've been speaking with our own Boise State Public Radio reporter, Jackson Holmes, about the crash of those two Navy planes that happened yesterday at the Gunfighter Skies Air Show in Mountain Home. We will, of course, continue to keep people updated as more information becomes available. And you can learn more by going to our website. That's where we will continue to keep it updated. And, of course, during our newscasts as well over the coming weeks. You've been listening to the Idaho Matters podcast from Boise State Public Radio. To stay in touch, you can find quick Idaho Daily News every morning when you subscribe to the Connector podcast. And text this podcast to a friend. It's how podcasts grow. Hi, Idaho Matters podcast listeners. If you're on your smartphone right now, or if you have it nearby, I wanted to pop in to tell you about something to check out. Boise State Public Radio is now on Nextdoor. Here's what that means. Trusted local news, thoughtful reporting, and stories from across Idaho right along your neighborhood updates. If you already have the Nextdoor app, You're halfway there. Just search Boise State Public Radio and hit follow.